The Lean Startup: How Constant Innovation Creates Radically Successful Businesses by Eric Ries. 10-minute book summaries by the Empowered Leader. The Lean Startup is a method that helps startups and tech companies create sustainable business models. It promotes rapid prototyping and gathering customer feedback data constantly. It's based on lean manufacturing and agile development principles and proven to be effective by case studies from recent years. If you want to stay up to date on our latest videos, make sure to like and subscribe to the Empowered Leader YouTube channel. We would also love to hear what books you'd like us to summarize in the comments below. Managing a startup is quite different from managing an established company. Rather than relying on past successes, startups can't predict their own future since they don't have any experiences to reference. Corporate management tools such as milestone plans and long-term market forecasts don't always do the trick. Instead, startups need to remain flexible and agile while finding ways to stay on course. Startup management teams must shift direction quickly and respond to obstacles as they arise. At the same time, they need to find the right metrics to measure whether their journey is leading them in the right direction. Key insight number 1. A startup's goal is to figure out a way to make their business work in the long run. The key to a successful startup is to identify a business model that is profitable and sustainable. It doesn't matter how detailed your plans are, how efficiently you execute them, or even how much attention the press gives you. If your business model isn't sustainable, your company won't last. So, if you want your business to thrive, you need to find a way to bring in customers and make money by providing them with what they want. For example, if you're offering online kilt knitting instructions, ask yourself if anyone would be interested in this and if there is any way to make money from it. If the answer is no, try something else that people are willing to pay for. The top priority of a startup should be to find a business model that works now and will continue to provide success in the future. To do this, the management must focus their entire team on achieving this goal, and the quicker they can find the right model, the more likely the company will be successful. Key insight number 2. Discover a sustainable business model through testing and verifying your ideas. To find a sustainable business model, startups need to understand what their customers want and how to make money from it. This involves discovering the right product for the right people and understanding how to sell it to them. That's why it's important to use a process of constant learning, which is best done through a scientific approach of validated learning. You begin this process by coming up with hypotheses about how certain products will do in a certain market, like, US customers will be willing to purchase shoes online, and testing those hypotheses by talking to real customers in a realistic environment. Take the example of Zappos. They started off with a simple hypothesis and tested it by setting up a fake online store. Once people started actually buying the shoes, they knew they were on the right track. Validated learning is key to finding a sustainable business model. Key insight number 3. Test out your hypotheses related to value and growth by taking a leap of faith. Believing in the future success of a product without any proof can feel like a leap of faith for a founder. To quickly validate their beliefs, it's important for founders to test their value and growth hypotheses. The value hypothesis assumes that customers will find and embrace the product, while the growth hypothesis states that the product will find a bigger market later. If these hypotheses can be validated, it's worth investing the time and effort into developing the product. Take a look at Facebook. They managed to validate both the value and growth hypotheses at a very early stage. The registered users were very active, and they had high user activation rates, meaning they gained market penetration quickly. This data made investors believers in the future success of the social network, leading them to invest millions. To sum it up, test your value and growth hypotheses to make sure your product is worth investing in. Key insight number 4. Create a simple version of your product to see how it performs in the market. If you're a founder looking to create a sustainable business, it's important to not get too wrapped up in developing your product in isolation. You need to find out as soon as possible if there are any real customers out there who are interested in what you're offering. A great way to do this is to create a minimal viable product, MVP. This is a simple, stripped-down version of the full product that will give customers a realistic experience of how it would work in practice. Take the founders of Dropbox, for example. They knew that creating their product would take a lot of time, so they created a video to validate the hypothesis that there was a demand for their data synchronizing service. Within one night, 75,000 people had signed up to their waiting list, and the Dropbox team knew they were on the right track. It's always a good idea to test the market before investing a lot of time in developing a product. Create your MVP, gather customer feedback, and make sure there's actual demand for what you're offering. Key insight number 5, try to build, measure, and learn as quickly and as frequently as you can. If you want to build a sustainable business model, learning is key. You need to get out there and show your product to customers, so you can gather their feedback and use it to improve your product. To help with this, set up so-called BML loops: build, measure, learn. Build a simple version of your product, like a prototype or a smoke test, and then take it to its actual market and collect customer feedback. Measure the interest in the product, like how many people clicked the purchase button and tried to buy from your fake web shop. And then, learn from the individual impressions and opinions of these customers. Use what you learn in one cycle to create a new, optimized product and repeat this process until you find a sustainable business model. Be fast, as each BML loop helps you improve your product and gives you valuable insights about what your customers want. The more loops you can go through, the more likely it is you will find your sustainable business model. Key insight number 6. Split testing can help you get the most out of your product. Startups must be able to tell the difference between value and waste when developing and improving a product. It's important to find out which features are valuable for customers and which features just don't add anything to their experience. Anything that doesn't help attract customers or increase revenue is wasteful, even if the founders think it's the greatest thing ever. A smart way of distinguishing between value and waste is split testing. Before you add a feature or make changes, create 2 versions of your product, one with the new feature and one without it. Then, you can compare the customer responses to each one and decide which version is the most successful. This technique has been used by mail-order businesses before and it really works. So why not use it to optimize your product? Try creating 2 test versions and track the customer click rates to find out which one works best. Key insight number 7. If you want to identify the right business model for your company, you'll usually have to make some adjustments, or pivot. If you're a startup, the popular myth is that perseverance and an iron will is the key to success. But this can lead you into the so-called land of the living dead, where you work hard on something that the market doesn't want. To avoid this, you should constantly be asking yourself how you can change your product to make it better and to help it find its market. A pivot is sometimes necessary, a fundamental change of course, and this can be challenging. To make sure you're on the right track, it can be helpful to have monthly pivot meetings to honestly evaluate the data and decide if a pivot is needed. Many successful businesses have had to pivot before they finally struck gold. Take Groupon, for example. To find the right business model, you often have to pivot. Key insight number 8. For startups, it's best to focus on just one engine of growth to start with. When setting up a business model, it's important to have an engine of growth to keep the company from stagnating. There are 3 different types of growth engines. The sticky engine, which focuses on keeping current customers using the product more often. The viral engine, where existing customers do the marketing for you. And the paid engine, which involves investing in marketing, like paid online advertising. You can use all 3 at once, but it's often wise to start with one and see how it goes. This way, you can also easily measure the success of new features. If they help the engine of growth in any way, they're valuable, but if they don't, they're a waste. So, it's best to focus on one engine of growth to begin with. Key insight number 9. Don't be fooled by vanity metrics. They may look nice on paper, but they don't really give you a clear picture of how to create a sustainable business model. If you want to make sure your startup succeeds in the long term, it's key to pause and examine the right metrics. It can be tempting to focus on vanity metrics, which may make you look good but won't help you achieve your goals. For example, Getting a lot of media attention or Facebook fans may make you feel good, but it doesn't mean you're successful. Likewise, putting in a lot of hours or achieving milestones won't necessarily lead to success. To build a sustainable business model, you need to focus on the metrics that will get you closer to your goals. Key insight number 10. Every startup needs to figure out the metrics that are most important to them and make sure they are looking at them in the right way. It's essential for any startup to identify the right metrics to track and constantly evaluate them. Only by seeing the metrics improve will you know if you're heading towards your long-term goal of securing a sustainable business model. The metrics that work for one startup might not work for another, but typically they would include increases in paying customers, average session length per user, and number of recommendations generated among a set number of customers. To really gain insight from the data, you should use cohort analysis, which involves comparing how new customers behave compared to old ones. Let's say you have a core metric of recommendation rate. You can analyze this further by looking at the average number of recommendations from customers who signed up 6 months ago, 4 months ago, and 2 months ago. If the metric is getting better, then you're making progress. If it's not, then you're stagnating. Therefore, it's vital that startups define their core metrics properly and analyze them accordingly. Final thoughts. Startups should take a semi-scientific approach to test their core assumptions and build a sustainable business model on the validated hypotheses. They should develop a minimal viable product to test their ideas in the market and then continuously refine it by gathering customer feedback and going through build, measure, learn loops. This will help them find the right product and business model, identify their engine of growth, and analyze the right metrics. Every startup should focus on one engine of growth and define their core metrics in order to find a sustainable business model. Vanity metrics are often flattering but misleading and won't help you find a sustainable business model. In his best-selling book Start With Why, Simon Sinek tackles the question of what makes some organizations and people more innovative, influential, and profitable than others. His answer to this conundrum was so influential it became the third most watched TED Talk of all time. Through his examples, Sinek shows us that the key to success is to ask why rather than what. Do you like our 10-minute book summaries? Like, subscribe, and check out more videos from the Empowered Leader. Let us know your favorite leadership and motivation books in the comments section.